3.5 million years ago, the human animals stopped swinging in trees and started walking on the ground. Each human brought down with them their own unique way of communicating, their own unique manner in which they display emotion, and their own conflicts and ego. With 8 billion of these human beings walking around the same earth, you may have a strong, compelling urge to run back up into the safety of the trees. But don't. Instead, learn. Learn how to live among the humans.
And a big yabba dabba doo to everybody. I hope all are doing well. Today we have some pretty pretty good stuff. This is where it gets a little. It's where it gets real. Uh, and we are talking about relationships. That's right, relationships. Let's think about relationships. For now, let's talk about what we call romantic relationships. In other words, not a relationship where you're just hooking up or a friendship relationship or a family or a coworker. So we'll use the term romantic relationship, which means it's somebody that you plan to spend the rest of your life with. All right, so your romantic partner. Now, let's take these romantic partners and see why we need to watch this video. Why do we need to learn about relationships? Doesn't love happen organically? Don't relationships just go, and if they need work, then it's not really good? Or is it the other way? Relationships take a lot of work. Uh, well, let's talk about why we need to do this. Romantic relationships. Since 1980, the divorce rate in America has came anywhere from 48% to 52%. The last reading was at 51%. However, it's probably going to be a lot more because of the pandemic. Uh, However, or we're past the pandemic, but those results haven't been filed in yet. Um, so that means there's 48% of people, because 52%, I'm sorry, I said 51, 52% last year. So that means 48% of people are happy. Hang on a second. We just said 48% aren't divorced. Well, how many are real? First of all, how many aren't divorced but would like to get a divorce, but they don't because of religious reasons, uh, because of financial reasons, because of children? Those are the top three why people stay when they should get out. So let's take that, and statistics show it's somewhere around 12%. So we take the 48%, bring it down to 38%, now bring it down to 34%. So there's 34% of people that are happy. Wow. Now, if we even take that, well, they're not happy. Those are just ones who want to get a divorce right away. You know what? I'm going to stick with that figure. I'll stick with that figure right now. Uh, Heck, I'll even stick with the figure of 38%. All right, so 48% aren't divorced, and we say 10% want to get a divorce, but they don't for many reasons. Um, I'll stick with that. If you were to save money for 20 years and you were able to save $150,000, and then I tell you, hey, you want to double your money? I'll give you odds, 38% chance that you can win and double your money. Would you do that? No. If I told you to drive a motorcycle off a ramp and you have a 38% chance of making it to the other side, would you do that? Of course you wouldn't, not at 38%. However, we pick somebody that we would like to have children with, possibly form a family, build a life together, and we go into that with a 38% chance. Those odds are not good. Well, 38% chance that we'll be happy. It is God, I can't do math. It is a 62% chance that we'll fail. I mean, if they told you there was a 62% chance it was going to rain today, would you bring an umbrella? Those odds are awful. So I am going to try to even up those odds a bit because it all boils down to most of us don't pick the right partner. Most of us do not pick the right partner. And that is where the relationship will fail. Sometimes we pick the wrong partner and we know it and we think they're going to change. Other times we pick the wrong partner because we said we'll just be with that person until somebody better comes along. But sometimes we literally are in love with the person. We pick them for all the right reasons. And in about 3 years, those reasons don't seem to be important anymore. Um, what about relationships like mine that last over 30 years? I mean, I'm on 32 years, man. Um, how are those people able to make it last so long? So that is what we're going to talk about mainly in this video is why do we pick the wrong partners? I'm going to show you through something called the relationship model, which are the stages that a relationship happens in. And I think it's probably the best way to show you not only how we pick the wrong partner, but when we pick the wrong partner. Uh, Relationships just don't organically happen. Yeah, love at first sight. But I mean, I could look at an empty lot and say, there's my new restaurant. At first sight, I knew it. There's a lot of building. It's just an empty lot right now. So that's all love is at first sight. It gives you an empty lot in which to build. But if you start building and you find that lot is a little soggy, it's flood damaged. It used to be an old Indian burial ground. Get the hell out of there. But in relationships, sometimes we still will build our house hoping the water will go away, the Indian spirits won't come up and haunt us. It doesn't work. But before I get into the relationship model, I want to lay something else on you that's pretty heavy. How many relationships do you have? When you have your romantic relationship with one person, how many relationships is that? Now, that sounds like a trick question. If you have one relationship with a person, how many relationships do you have with that one person? You actually have three. First off, you have the relationship that you think you have with that person. The second relationship is the relationship they think they have with you. In other words, the first one, I might think me and Sheila have a great relationship. My friends ask me, how's it going? I go, things are terrific. Things are great. We've never communicated better. But Sheila might be telling her friends when they say, how's the relationship? She might go, oh my God, it is awful. This guy never shuts up. Him and his stupid videos. There's no communication. He talks more to his students than he does to me. It's awful. Those are two totally different relationships. And then there's the third relationship, the one that actually is the truthful one. So that is why marriage therapy and all, you need to talk to each person separate before you talk to them together and find out if they're at least on the same page with what they want from the relationship, what they see in the future, uh, how much they respect and admire their partner. So, three relationships. Now, not only that, but when you have a relationship, a romance with your romantic partner, you're also taking on relationships that that person has. So you meet the mother-in-law or the father-in-law, your future mother-in-law or father-in-law, who are the biggest pains in the butt. That you know they're going to tell you how to raise the child, your own child. They've already began. Well, when are you going to have a grandchild for us? You're not even married yet. They're asking you, when's our grandkid coming? Blah blah blah. You better know that they ain't leaving. First of all, it's not fair for you to tell your partner get rid of your parents. They're obnoxious, and more than likely they're not going to. Uh, I mean, if these people are down in their basement, if they're serial killers, then yes, you tell your partner get rid of them. But if they're just obnoxious and annoying, well, welcome to life. But that's a relationship you're going to have to deal with. We only think we have to deal with us, and then we tell our partner, you go deal with your family. No, you've accepted the relationship with your romantic partner, but you forgot that they're also bringing in relationships that you have to manipulate. I didn't mean that. That you have to tolerate. That you have to tolerate at the very least. Hopefully, you can make them better. Remember grandma? Maybe we can get grandma to be our babysitter for free. Yeah, you want to tell me how to raise the kid? Okay, I'm going out. You watch the kid. Somehow we can do it. This is why when you have whatever it's called, mo- baby mama drama and baby daddy drama, and you get involved with a partner who has an ex-wife or an ex-husband with no children. That's fine. You get an ex-wife or an ex-husband of your now romantic partner and they have a child together, that ex is going to be in your life. And what's funny is when we get married to somebody who's got children with another person, very few times we're already adversary. We're already defensive against that person. You're not the real mom. You're not the real dad. You don't tell. You got a kid. Can you imagine how much love there would be? How well that kid could be if everybody, including the exes and the newly stepmothers and stepfather, if they could all get on the same page? Now you've got three, four people pushing this kid, man. But how many, so I got an ex-wife. We got a kid together. She's remarried. I got Sheila. Could you imagine if me, Sheila, my ex-wife, and the husband, by the way, I don't have an ex-wife, my ex-wife and her husband sit down together and we're all on the same page on how to get this kid into one of the best colleges or how to get this kid a good apprenticeship job or who's going to teach the kid how to drive, this and that, who's going to prom with her, who's buying the prom dress. Wow. I mean, that's soup, but it doesn't work that way, but it should, and it could. It should and it could. That sounded nice. Yeah, that's what I'm here to tell you about. All right. So you've already learned two very important things. One is there are three relationships in every relationship. This is why somebody can find out that their spouse left, and when you ask them, "What happened, dude? What happened, dudette?" They look at you and go, "I don't know. I thought everything was good." Uh, that happened to me personally. Personally, the woman I moved up here for to be with New York. I thought everything was fine. And one day she came up to me and said, even my cat knew. My cat looked at me and said, what, you didn't know? Even my cat knew something was going on. And I told my friends I thought there was nothing wrong. But when I got educated, I started looking back. There were signs. One of the signs were I put 900 bucks in a banking account and I said, put 900 bucks and let's open up an account together for our future. And she said, I don't think that's a good idea. Uh, Boom, right there. There's a red flag. So this is what I'm here to show you, red flags. All right. So let's talk about this. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about something called the relationship model. Now, you don't have to have the model. It's a pretty cool model. I'll toss it up though. Uh, it's a relationship model. Here it is. Boom. And it shows the relationship stages. In other words, every relationship goes through stages. I'm going to take that off right now because I don't want you looking at it while I'm talking. Um, every relationship goes through stages. And sometimes stages are people don't spend much time in them. Sometimes they think they skip a stage. That means they didn't spend much time. Uh, but in each one of those stages, things should be happening. If they don't, that's a red flag. And things happen in those stages that should not be happening. That too is a red flag. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of these stages and we are going to see what should happen in each one of those stages. The first stage is called the contact stage. So, um, the contact stage. There's actually two parts of the contact stage. The first part is called perceptual contact. Perceptual contact. And what is that? Perceptual contact is, let's say that you're looking at your computer, you're flashing, you're swiping left or swiping right. I have no idea what to swipe, but you're swiping and you're looking. And all of a sudden, as you're seeing all these faces, all of a sudden one gets your attention. Oh, you just went through 30 faces on a good night. You just went through 30 faces, and all of a sudden, there's one you stopped on. I just find this remarkable, by the way. I mean, we're such animals. I mean, we really are. And it's real good to understand why we're doing this. But, like, yeah, huh? I mean, like an animal, which we are. So, or you're in a restaurant or a bar or a club and you're looking around and you're seeing literally hundreds of people. And all of a sudden, you see one. It got your attention. This is perceptual contact, remember? Perceptual contact. And what happens is when you see that person for a fraction of a second, you imagine what your life would be with them. You almost have a picture of what your life would be with this person. Isn't that beautiful? It is. And I'm mixing romantic with science. This is what they call love at first sight. So now you know that love at first sight scientifically is called perceptual contact. Uh, Now you might go, wait a second, wait a second. I fell in love. I never paid you. Yeah, you did. You might have just not noticed it. Or you're saying you're in love and you're not really in love. But I'll tell you what, I'm not sure whether or not you got it or not. I'm just here to tell you when you get that feeling, when you almost have a photograph of what your life would be with that person, there's a good chance that well, not a good chance yet, but yes, proceed. The good sign. Um, I experienced this myself with Sheila. When I first saw Sheila, in my mind, I pictured literally me and her walking into the entrance of a country club. That's weird, isn't it? Uh, do do I look like the country club type? Do I even look like a country club would let me be its member? Uh, it took me a while to figure, but that's the image I had. By the way, the reason why I studied this, I was a caddy when I was 14. I was a busboy at the country club. So during the day, I was on the golf course at the country club, and at night, I was upstairs in the dining room bussing tables. So I worked in a country club for like 6 years. Not 6 years, 4 years. But when I was a young adult, I dated what I still call girls. I dated women that were waitresses, actresses. Uh, Nobody really had a full time job. They had roommates, stuff like that. Uh, when I saw Sheila, Sheila was dressed like a woman. It was her Christmas party. I was used to East Village women that wore the Doc Martens with the ripped cut off bleached jeans and tights, a whole different look. That to me was girls, but when I looked at Sheila, it was her Christmas party. She had on a dress. Her That was a woman. That was the woman I saw when I used to be a busboy. And I would see a pretty woman that was 20, 30 years older than me. And I go, wow, I wonder one day if I'll be married to a woman like that. Isn't the mind crazy? And like, what? 20 years, 10, 19 years later, that fused in my head when I saw Sheila? Yeah, it did. So perceptual contact, and it's an amazing thing, perceptual contact, when you study abnormal psychology, because now that psychotic individual is watching the Weather Channel, and all of a sudden the weather woman comes on, and he's amazed. He has a picture of what life would be with that woman, but it's not going to happen. But he's going to try to. He's going to write her letters because he believes he's got that picture. Now, most people stop at a certain point. I mean, I could picture my life with I don't know, Jennifer Lopez. But the reasonable person says, oh, she's married. Many other reasons why I couldn't get J Lo, but stuff like that. We have boundaries where the perceptual, not the psychotic. The psychotic will go, not only I know we're meant for each other because of that picture. I know we're meant for each other, but she's also sending me signs. So they believe that the weather woman is, that's why a guy sits outside Madonna's window. I'm here with a sign, I'm here. And when the cops arrest him, he goes, oh no, we're supposed to get married. His perceptual contact just got a little too crazy out there. So perceptual contact is something. If you don't get perceptual contact, if you didn't formulate a picture, does it mean that there's not going to be any love? No, we got a few more stages where it can happen. But yeah, perceptual contact, it's great. All right, after that, you have same bubble contact. After that, you have interactional contact. This is where you actually go and meet the person. You actually say something to them. All you're doing in this stage is you are trying to see whether or not your perceptual contact was true. So if I looked at Sheila and I said, oh my goodness, wow, I just got it. This is the woman. I'm going to marry that woman. And I went up to her and said, hi, how are you? My name's Mark. Can I get you a drink? And she looked at me and said, oh, buzz off, Baldy. Baldy, that hurt. I can't believe I came up with that insult. Buzz off, Baldy. Well, my perceptual contact was that she was nice. I mean, she was smiling when we were walking in that country club together, but my interactual contact did not make sense. It didn't match. So what do? I exit. That's why that exit is on the sheet. Now, being young men or being young women, I know nothing about that. This is where we might make our first mistake. We might not exit. Even though we just fell in love with the idea of this person, then we found out that that person in real life, and we didn't talk to them much, but I mean, get away from me, Baldy. That's enough. But if I were to proceed, that's not love anymore. That's lust. That's sexual. So for a lot of guys, we make this mistake. Common knowledge. Uh, so that's one of those places where those arrows happen. So most of us should exit, some of us stay, but that's one of your red flags. So we got two red flags in the contact stage. One is the perceptual contact. I should say a green flag too. Because if you did get that feeling, if you did get that picture that this is the person you are meant to spend the rest of your life with, that's good. If you didn't, they'll give you kind of a little red flag, orange, an orange flag. Your second thing, if your interactional did not meet the perceptual, if they did not, if they didn't seem like they were the same thing, that's a red flag too. You should exit. But if you're not going to exit, you will go down to what we call the involvement stage. So in the involvement stage, what happens is you you're testing the person. You want to find out if there is a connection. You start asking questions. You start telling them about yourself. They start telling you about themselves. So now we're seeing if there's connections. This is where all the red flags will fly. Um, we don't spend enough time in there. We don't. We should spend a lot of time in that involvement stage. Now, that doesn't mean that if you saw that last thing, intimate is the next stage. If we get there, don't think intimate means sex. When I ask students what does intimacy mean, they almost always say sex. Intimacy could be sexual. Intimacy could not be sexual. Uh, in France, I'm told that the prostitutes don't allow you to kiss them because if you kiss them, that would be intimate. Uh, Intimate means being able to tell somebody your worst fears, your highest hopes, your dreams, and they don't laugh at you. Intimate is being able to share the most personal information. That's being intimate. There are some parents who are intimate with their children. You can come up to them. You can talk with them. Then there are other parents that say, I'm not my child's friend. I'm their parent. They don't want to be intimate. They don't want to know. They just want to know if your schoolwork is done. Pros and cons to each. That parent that just wants to be a parent and not a friend. Maybe if the kid is being bullied and there's not an intimacy between the parent and the child might not feel they could come up to their parent and tell them they're being bullied in school. On the opposite thing, if you are too intimate with your child, smoking pot with them when they're 14, letting them drink when they're 17, having parties for their friends because you want to be the cool parent, there's a problem with that too. So, let's get out of intimacy. But what I'm saying is in the involvement stage, I said you want to test the person. So, is sex part of the involvement stage? Yeah, a lot of people want to test and see if their sexual chemistry works. No problem. Older people don't do that. When you're 70 years old, that's a very, and we'll talk about that later, that's a very low priority. I mean, at this time, I'm more concerned if Sheila were to leave me, I'm more concerned if the woman I end up with, which I won't, if the woman I end up with likes cats and kayaking. I care more about that in this stage of my life than I do whether we're both have chemistry in bed. But young people, that's part of it. Some want to wait till the intimacy, which for them means a ring is on the finger, and in God's eyes, and in the courts, and in their loved ones, we all know that they are one. So let's get back to involvement. Yeah, you start asking questions. You start telling your stuff about yourself. Uh, but you can't just ask questions. Now, this is where a lot of people fail. In other words, I asked Sheila about the second or third date about children. She said she didn't want any. Okay, right there's an issue. Right there. First off, what I did right was I asked very early on. I didn't wait 2 years, 3 years. By the way, let's set up some ages. Sheila was 33 and I was 29 at the time. So 33. Uh, yeah. I wanted to be a father. I'd make a good father because I didn't have a good father. So I know exactly what not to do. I'm immature. I bought Hot Wheels last year. I play with Hot Wheels. They're for the cats. I let the cats chase them. But I skateboard. My scooter's over there. You don't believe me? Look, there's my scooter. I'm immature. I would have made a great father. But Sheila said she didn't want any in the involvement stage because I asked. Now, I could have believed her, which I did. And right then, and we'll talk about this later, it's called the social contract theory. I'm sorry, it's called the social exchange theory. Basically, it's measuring your pros and cons. Um, I had to decide right there whether or not she was worth it. In other words, she's the most kindest person I met. She's she's likes my sense of humor. She doesn't mind I'm bald. She seems very supportive. Uh, so when I hear, I mean, she's outweighing it, man. I mean, it's looking good. The children, eh, it didn't really sink anything because she had so many pluses that it didn't sink the one thing. But for some people, it may have. And when they asked, see, I accepted it. I never brought it up again. By the way, I found out why. She's like 7 years older than her other three siblings. No, four siblings. So she was actually kind of like she's changed diapers. She kind of raised four kids already. So I don't know what it's like to raise a child. She knows how it is because she did it four times. So, but I could have thought to myself, well, you know what? She said she doesn't want kids, but she'll change her mind. And you know what? When I was, 3 years, 2 years later, I could have asked her again, do you want to have children? No. Well, why not? Because I told you I don't want to have them. Yeah, I know, but I thought you changed your mind. Well, I didn't. Well, I want children, but you said you didn't want. Every 1 year, every year we could have this conversation. Are we going to have children? And then when I'm 40 and she's 44, I could have said to her, well, now it's too late. You've ruined my life. Now I'm not a father. God, and I could have made, uh-uh. She told me from day two, she didn't want to have children. I am not going to say, well, she will change her mind. I'm not going to base the whole relationship on I might, she might change her mind. I know women and men. No, I'm lying. I know women. I don't want to say I know men, but I don't want this all lopsided. But I know two women that were with men, and it was the opposite. They said they wanted children, and the men said at the time that they didn't. And the woman thought it was going to change, and the man never changed. And the women, because there is a clock action going on, they left these men so they could have a family. Uh, I know too personally, in fact, if you don't believe this is it, Gary Shandling, there's a documentary on Gary Shandling, who's one of the best comedians ever. He did that with one of his girlfriends. I don't think they were ever married, but they lived together. And in California, you live together, you are legally bound in a lot of ways. And she left to have a child, and it broke both their hearts. You could see it in the documentary. Um, Anyways, let's get back to it. Yeah, you ain't going to change the mind. So there's one of the problems in the involvement stage that people don't. Are you asking the right questions? If the person's Jewish, you're Christian, vice versa. You gonna have the kids baptized, or are you gonna have them bar mitzvahed? Uh, how are you gonna raise your children? When you get your college degrees, when you get enough money, you moving out of the city? That's where me and Sheila are at right now. Actually, I want to leave this city. She wants to stay here. Um, It's funny because I used to love the city, so that never really came up. But now it's coming up. But that was one thing I'm pretty sure we both really established when we first met how much we love New York City. Now I'm not so much, and she still has a love for it. But it's not fair for me to say get out because we both started by saying we both loved it. So if things work out fine, you can persuade the person, blah, 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 but you can't make them feel guilty for something they told you wasn't or was going to happen. And then when it did or didn't happen, like they told you it would, you start arguing about it. Ask the questions. Are you going to have, now, don't ask them all on the first date. Hi, let me ask you a few questions. Can we baptize our kids? You didn't even ask if they're going to have kids. You throw this out. You can't ask these questions. They'll scare people. So you do it. Remember how a little kid you wrote notes? Do you like me? Do you hate me? Do you not even know who I am? Uh, you pass it, or you ask other friends, does she like me? Does he like me? Well, you already know you guys like each other, but we still kind of got to play juvenile games, but it's in your textbook, so it can't be that juvenile. You don't really say, God, I'd love to have 7 kids. What about you? You want to have 7 kids with me? No. You figure out other ways. You go, oh my, how about those Baldwins? Alec Baldwin and stuff? I think she has like 5 or 6 kids. That's wild. And then you just be quiet. If she goes, oh yeah, I'd like to have 12. Or if they say, well, yeah, I don't even want one. You get your answer. Then you can talk a little bit about it. So you do, yeah, after, would you think about staying in New York your whole life, or do you ever want to go somewhere else? You ask questions. You get to know the person. You get to know the person. Don't worry. What's the rush to the altar? Don't worry. By the way, I've been engaged for 29 years, still not married. Uh, but that's beside the point. I am living proof. There is no rush to the altar. Now, if the other person does want to, then you do, but you can't be rushed. There's not a time limit. It's the involvement stage. So when people go, well, how long should you be with somebody before you marry them? 2 years, 3 years? Should you live with them? It. I can't give that. That's like when I give a 5 minute. I say do a 5 minute speech, and people go, how many pages should it be? How many main points should I have? It doesn't matter. You could have 100 as long as it's 5 minutes. You could have one as long as it's 5 minutes. So it's not a matter of how long should I, before we get married. Here's how long when all your questions are pretty much asked. Other questions will come up, such as what Medicare plan do we want? Uh, and won't it be great to have decisions like that? What kind of car should we buy? But right now, when I was the age of 20, I could afford whatever car. So later on, it might have, but you got to ask, do you believe in disciplining a child? How? You don't ask like that, but you get it. Oh, I know a teacher that, reported parents because they spanked their kid. What do you think? Was that right? Was it not? This is why it's essential to talk. Just have conversations and listen. Things will come out. Look for those red flags. What else? What am I missing in the involvement stage? You want to make sure that what you thought about the person is right. All right. Don't flirt. One of the ways immature people want to see, uneducated people want to see whether somebody likes them or not, is they will flirt. Listen, I don't mess around. This is love, baby. There are no games. You went through the contact stage. Now you're in an involvement stage. Let's just assume the person digs you. And if they don't, how about asking them? I've got a feeling I might be a little more into you than you are into me. Instead of flirting with another woman or another man to see if your partner gets irritated. Let me tell you something. If I was new to a person I was dating and they were flirting with somebody else in front of me, I don't care what the idea is. I exit. I exit. I don't care because you're not everybody's seeing you flirt with another person when they know you're with me. So you're going to explain to me later that evening, oh, I only flirted to see if you cared. Well, are you going to explain that to every single person at the party, plus the poor sap that you flirted with to begin with? So be cool. Don't play too many games with that. All right. If your involvement is going good, now you have a decision to make. Do you go into intimacy or do you make the exit? Well, we just said things are going cool, so let's go on to intimacy. You can tell I'm pausing this, can't you? In intimacy, we are there. Intimacy is heaven. In intimacy, 1 plus 1 equals 1. 1 plus 1 equals 1. I can't do anything. To a certain point, we'll talk about this. Well, no, I can do anything as long as I let Sheila know. Why wouldn't I? Uh, I could I could go away surfing. I do. Go once a month. I leave for 2, 3 days. But I tell Sheila, uh, we 1 plus 1 equals 1. Anything I do is going to affect Sheila. If I yell at my boss and I get fired, that's going to affect our financial situation. That's going to affect Sheila. Uh, if you invite Sheila to a party, you got to invite Mark. If you invite Mark, you got to invite Sheila. 1 plus 1 equals not 2, it equals 1. Now, does intimacy, when I say it's in heaven, does that mean that there are no problems? Oh, no. You're still going to have conflict. And remember, conflict is when two people can't have, they both can't have their own goal. So if she wants Chinese and I want Italian to eat, one of us ain't gonna. Obviously, we could order from 2 different places, but we don't order. So if I'm going to cook, anyways, you get the idea. But the thing is so conflicts will arise because that's what a conflict is. But you want to resolve the conflicts, and the conflicts are resolved quite easily. And even when the conflicts aren't resolved or can't be resolved, you just look at the person and go, okay, what? What do you want to do? And they go, I guess there's nothing we can do. Uh, Somebody will always give. They might be angry, but then they know they love the person. I mean, your emotions will take over for a second, and then you calm down because you love that person and you do not want to hurt that person. By the way, these are all red flags. When I say you don't want to hurt the person, you might go, duh, of course. But how many of us, when we argue, what is your goal? Is your goal, so you have a conflict, you have an issue. Is your goal to solve the issue? Is the goal for you only to get what you think is right? Or is the goal to hurt the other person? Do you argue with your partner to hurt that person? To be able to say you're stupid? Well, what about when you do this? Well, how, or are you trying to solve the issue? We'll get to that in deterioration because that's how. But we're in heaven right now, intimacy. So issues do occur, but they're resolved very quickly, or they're resolved. Little stuff. You love the person. So listen, you want Italian, eat Italian. But some things like where are we going to go on vacation? What kind of car are we going to get? These are bigger issues because we're both financially contributing money to them and we both have a desire for what we want, but we can't both have a convertible Mustang and a Ford Escape SUV. So guess what I drive? A Ford Escape SUV. Because I love the person. I give in. It's not about winning. I don't think she got over on me. She had her reasons. We got cats. We got 4 cats at the time. We need an SUV. The Mustang, all that cat hair. But basically, there was no fight. You solve it. I didn't buy the Mustang just to show I was right. And I didn't say, God, are you square? How old are you? You're old. You want an SUV, blah, blah, blah. These things get done. When you're in deterioration, they don't. So intimacy, you're going to have your problems, but they are solved, they are resolved, and it happens quite quickly. Uh, you want to be with that person. There's a lot of reasons, and we'll get into it with friendship. But one of the reasons why you don't want to see your friends anymore, don't spend as much time with them, is because you want to be with that person. The quality of your life is fuller. By the way, in involvement, you start talking about the future. I'm going back one stage. You start talking about the future in the involvement stage. That is a very good sign. Oh, there's nothing like it when you're wondering if the person really likes you and they go, well, next summer we can go. And you go, next summer? Wow. She's going to be with me for at least a year. New world's record. uh, in involvement, you start both planning for the future. In intimacy, you're there. You're you're there. You're secure. You relax. The future is now. You still plan for upcoming events and all, but you got the girl. You got the boy. You're together. Enjoy it. When there's not enjoyment and intimacy, it's usually because they didn't spend enough time in the involvement stage, and if they did, they would have exited it. There's no such thing as intimacy. If there's constant stuff going on, that's not intimacy. Very, very, very few people live in intimacy. Very few people. Uh, that's all on intimacy. Let's go to hell. Deterioration. Yeah, if intimacy is heaven, deterioration is hell. Deterioration, the definition literally is the weakening of bonds. So a bond is made up of many strings. They're all together like a cable. A cable is made up of all these little strands. And if you put them all together, those strands, each one is weak by itself. Put them together, they're strong. That's a bond. Well, she doesn't know. She's stupid. Bink. One little string. Bink. Oh, please. If Mark could get a job where he makes more money, maybe we wouldn't have to live in this dump. Bink. Yeah, well, your mother is so ugly. Bink. Oh, yeah, your dad is so. Bink. The weakening of bonds. And then one day when you go, that's it. I'm done. That was when that last bond went pink. But we're not there yet. We're still thinking that maybe we're in a relationship and this is just the way relationships are. And we talked about it. Why? Maybe in culture, we thought people argued. Just like we think a little jealousy is good for a relationship. Yeah, okay. Uh, we deterioration. There's such a bad feeling in there. I don't know how you're not aware of that. Just get the hell out of there. It's over. Well, not over because we can go to repair. But so how do you know if you're in deterioration? Well, today if I walked home and I saw a squirrel that was red, like a red squirrel, I would go home and I go, Sheila, guess what? She'd go, what? I go, I saw a red squirrel. And, she thought I was going to tell her I got a raise. And she'd go, oh, well, where'd you see it? I go, oh, Washington Square Park. Oh, yeah, I was there. I never saw a red squirrel. I know, either did I. I didn't even know there were red squirrels. Well, aren't there? I don't know. I mean, we're going to spend 5 minutes talking about squirrels. Now, that's an intimacy. In deterioration, I could be I could be walking home and all of a sudden I see this guy jump on a bus waving a gun, gets on the bus goes the wrong way down the street, breaks open, flips upside down. I start pulling people out to save them. The bus is on fire. Now the guy comes out of the fire with the gun. I kick the gun out of his hand. The gun flies across Chambers Street. All of a sudden, the foot lands on the gun. I look, it's Mayor Adams. And Mayor Adams grabs the gun. He throws it to a cop. He runs over. Me and Mayor Adams, we got the criminal. We hand him over the cops. Mayor Adams says, New York City thanks you. And I say, just being an average citizen, Mayor, thank you. I walk home and Sheila goes, hey, how are you? Anything new? What's up? How was your day? I go, same old same. What? Mayor Adams, the gun, all that. And I saw a squirrel, a red squirrel, all that stuff. Eh, She's not worth it. I'm not. So a real good sign of deterioration is when you just, a lot of times in intimacy, if you have an argument, you feel this way, but then you break it because you're sitting there going, all right, I guess I love the person, or else they do something that reminds you that you love them. But in deterioration, those bonds, ping, 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 there's each one of those is a little bit of love. Uh, I almost beat my glasses right off. Uh, yeah, you don't feel like it's just too much energy to tell the other person that. Uh, Yeah, it's sad. You share less. You share less. You disclose so less. And by the way, remember that's why I had to bring this up. Remember the involvement stage where you said, "Wow, I wonder what my life would be with this person. This is going to be great. I can't wait." You start planning, even in contact stage, your first one. You pictured how your life this whole way through contact, through involvement in intimacy, all you keep thinking and daydreaming about how you're going to be with this person in the future. In deterioration, for the first time, a thought comes into your mind about how your life would be without this person in your life. And you smile. I could date again. I could move in with my buddy Raj. I know he'll let me move in for $600. I could take the front room. Oh, this is gonna. I could finally get my Mustang. You start think, oh, I don't have to deal with her parents anymore. You start thinking of all these marvelous things that will happen to you. That doesn't happen in intimacy. Geez, when I think of Sheila either dying or leaving me, I get sad. I don't get happy. I get sad. Deteriorate for acting sometimes if I had to cry or put tears in my eyes. I hope Sheila doesn't see it. Sheila's died in my mind like hundreds of times while I've been acting. I hope she never knows that. But yeah, if I want to bring tears to my eyes, I kill Sheila. Yeah, I never let her divorce me. Then I'm too angry. Yeah. But yeah, in intimacy, the thought of that person leaving will bring me to tears. In deterioration, the thought of that person leaving makes me laugh out loud, or at least smile. Remember those conflicts that you had very little of, and every one of them you resolve very quickly? In deterioration, you have a lot more of those conflicts, and you resolve them a lot less. There's a lot of silence. You cut it. I mean, you might think deterioration is a bunch of people screaming and yelling, and you walk in their house and they're arguing. Just the opposite. Remember, the opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference. What does that mean? One more time. I know a lot of you have heard it, but if you haven't heard it, you're like, huh? Uh, yeah, the opposite of love is not hate. Because hate still is a very emotional thing and it still means there's some sort of obsession with you. So if you love somebody, you're obsessed with loving them. If you're hating, it's obsessed. It's not the opposite. But if you love somebody, you're obsessed with them. But indifference means I don't even know that. I don't even care if they're around. You don't have one opinion. So there's a lot of indifference. Remember that tiredness? I'm tired. A lot of people have been through relationships that are hard. You say, how do you feel now? They say, I'm tired. That's why. All right. If you are still in deterioration, but you don't want to let go of that person, somehow we can work it out. Guess what? You can't, at least for this lecture, I'm not going to give you both therapy. I can't. And you can't tell the other person what to do. Oh, I read somewhere on a video. I'm sorry. I watched somewhere on a video that you should know, or that we should know. Take care of yourself, and the rest will follow. If you take care of yourself and the rest doesn't follow, stage left. and you could literally, truthfully say, I did all I could do. What is it? Well, with this repair, I'm going to give you three ways that you could repair. And like I said, don't worry about the other person. I know a few of you are going to have a hard time grasping this concept, how I could tell you to repair your relationship without the other person involved. But like I said, by you changing, the other person will change or they will wither and the relationship will die. So, number one, lower your expectations. Lower your expectations of your partner. Lower your expectations of your partner. That doesn't mean you can expect them to become obese and to wear sloppy clothes and not shower. That's not what that means. Uh, when Sheila met me, I had potential as both the nightclub business and in acting and comedy. I had potential that was almost as good as you can get in show business, as in almost promises. I knew the right people. I I was almost there, uh, and I could have possibly launched a pretty good career that made real good money. As a business person running nightclubs, I could have brought in a pretty good salary, and we're talking maybe $200,000 to $300,000 a year. And as an actor, stand-up comic, if the planets align correctly, who knows? Who knows? Heck, some make 20 million a picture. Who knows where it would have led? Sheila met me that way. Now, I don't know, and I've never talked to Sheila about this, but she might have had an expectation that I'm going to make some money. We're going to be living good. It turns out I'm not making that money. I'm not making anywhere near that money. I mean, I'm making a teacher's salary. Somewhere along the lines, if she did have expectations, she had to lower her expectations of me. She couldn't say every day to me, why aren't you out making money? Why not? She had to say, all right, I love this guy. Money is not the reason I fell in love with him. So what do I care? As long as he's working at an honest job, making an honest living, and we have food on the table. But I kind of know she lowered her expectations of me. Uh, she had to, which is no problem. So I had an idea that when I met Sheila, she would cook. She tried to impress me maybe the second week by. There were signs, by the way. I opened up her oven, and that's where she kept her sweaters for storage. I should have known. But I've had to lower my expectations. She's never going to cook. I'm never going to come home and smell. I do all the cooking. She's cooked maybe 5 times. He assembles salads sometimes from a bag, but that's not cooking. But she does that a lot. Anyways, we'll go back to that cooking when I tell you how to resolve a problem, because that did come up for a little while. But anyways, number one for repair, lower your expectations. Number two, um, change your behavior. Yeah, change your behavior. Don't tell me you got nothing to do with it. Listen, I used to be a nutcase because of what I've talked about quite constantly. I would come home, boom, blah, 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 blah. The whole world revolved around me because it revolved around my dad. And when I come home, I should be able, this is my home, I should be able to broadcast to everybody how I feel. That's it. If they love me, they'll listen to it. I don't know. I don't know about Sheila because she was always great about it. I can't measure it on Sheila, but I will use my cats. I had a female cat that I walked in the door, she would hide. The second I walked through the door, she would hide. She'd come out about 15 minutes later. When I'd go to pet her, it would take so long for her to come to me. After I changed my behavior and didn't storm through the door within a month, because I made a conscious effort, by the way. I had to literally stand by my front door and say, okay, so it was an exercise, but I did it. I'm not much on exercises, but on this one I did. And I'd say, okay, remember, nobody in this house did anything to you. So don't do anything to them. Do not take the smiles off their faces. Do not go in there and ruin their day. Within a month, my cat would meet me at the door. Shadow, Shasha. She's not here anymore. Shasha. Yeah. Shadow would meet me at the door. Purr. Get. Oh, beautiful. I held her as her last dying breath. I literally held her, and she was purring, purring. Uh, so we could see that, yes, indeed, changing your own behavior. And the last thing. What is the last thing? One, change your behavior. Two, change your expectations. And negotiate new deals. Negotiate new deals. That you do with your partner. Uh, we did that with cooking. That's the way we got out of the cooking deal. Alive. I never minded her not cooking, and I would have liked to come home. But I was working as a student teacher, and I was working a lot of hours, and there was a lot of stress. And then I was also going to school at night. So I was working at a public school from about 8 in the morning to 3:30. Then I would do a lesson plan till 5. Then I would get home at 5:30, and I would have to leave for my night courses at Farouk at 6:15 at night. That gave me 3 days a week, only 30 minutes to eat. I don't have time to cook. Uh, Sheila doesn't cook. So what do we do? What do we do? And there were arguments on those days as I was trying to make myself a quick grilled cheese sandwich or something. I'd be yelling in the kitchen, I can't, yeah, you could cook at least every now and then, blah, 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 blah. I go off. And finally, we negotiated a new deal. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 4:30, she'll order food and have it delivered because we don't eat in restaurants. We don't want food delivered either, but I like to do it. Um, and when I got home, there was a Domino's pizza, there was Chinese food, whatever. We didn't go. Instead of if I would have been in, that lasted for about 2 semesters. No, about a semester. If I would have been smart like the second day, I would have said, whoa, 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 this isn't working. What can I do? She doesn't cook. I don't have time to cook or pick something up to come home. How can we make this work? I know. And that's the way it happened. But like 7 months later, Sheila, would you mind on these days if you were to call up and have something waiting for me when I get home? No problem. Oh, 3 ways to repair. Change your behavior, lower your expectations, negotiate new deals. All right. Let's get on with this. Dissolution. That's the last one. Dissolution. Dissolution means that's it, baby. We're done. Uh, if repair doesn't work and you've done all you can do, it's time to leave. If you have a kid with that person, guess what? You can never leave. You'll never leave. If you are somehow still business partners, you can't leave. Uh, I love when I have people tell me, "Oh yeah, I got rid of that person." I said, "Really?" It's always young people who do this. I say, "Really?" I said, "So I'll tell you what. You've been dating this person. You broke up with them 2 weeks ago, and you say you've dissolved. That's what dissolution is. You've dissolved the relationship." Yep. I said, "I'll give you $100 if you can give me that phone right now." And I've done this about 5 times. Uh, if you can give me that phone and I don't see that person's name out there. And then one gave me the phone. And I looked and there was a name. And I said, "There's the name." "Yeah, but it's blocked." Yeah. All 5 had the person still there, but it was blocked. Guess what? That's not dissolution. That's not dissolution. That's playing games. If this person hurts you so bad, why do you still have the reminder of them on there? Or if you don't like them so much where you dissolve the relationship, why are they still on your phone? It's not a dissolve. You're taking a break. That's not dissolution. In dissolution, boom, the bonds are broken. They're not weak. They are broken. Uh, What else? It's so simple, right? The bonds are broken. Yeah, you get different places. You can't say you don't have a relationship anymore if you still have to live with that person. The relationship has changed, but you still have to be careful. You've got to take on now the relationship of, I don't know what, maybe a friend, maybe some, I don't know. But you haven't dissolved it. You've dissolved your romantic relationship, but you're still in the relationship. The person who has that person blocked on their phone, but still has them on the phone, guess what stage in the relationship they're at? They think they've dissolved. They're not in dissolved. They're in deterioration. They're still playing games. They still have that person on their phone. They haven't exited. They haven't dissolved. They haven't done anything. All right. That's it. That's it. What else do I need to tell you about the thing? And we're at an hour, a little over. Those arrows. There's a reason why those arrows are shaped the way they are. They go up and they go down, except for the exits. They only go one way. Yeah, you can make contact with a person. Let's say it's a coworker. And then you say, hey, they might be good friends. And then you go into the involvement stage. You ask a lot of questions like, oh my God, you know what? I love this person. You find out they love you too. And then you actually find out before you move in or anything, you find out the other person is, I don't know, they're not your cup of tea. All of a sudden you found out something that just you both found out this isn't right. Well, you can't exit. You both work with each other, but you need to be civil. So you move back up into the contact stage where you still keep contact, which the interactional contact is, hi, how are you? How are you? You don't have that perceptual anymore. But you did. You'll still say hi and all that. If you still have a child, you'll somewhere you were in the intimacy stage, then you went into the dissolution. Now you got a divorce, but so you're no longer in intimacy. You're no longer in deterioration. I'm sorry. You're no longer in deterioration, but you also can't dissolve it because you have a child. So where are you? You're now in the involvement stage. You're asking questions. Is this new guy that you're seeing, is he being cool to our son? I got a report from his teacher. Did you get this report? It seems like he or she's having a problem. You still need to have a relationship. So that's what those arrows are for. All right, we ain't done with relationships. I got a whole truckload of notes on this stuff and experience. So, boom, boom, boom. All this was the relationship model that showed the stages. So, all right, that is it. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was quite helpful. Watch for those red flags. We will be staying with relationships for some time. We are going to be called we are next video talking about turning points in a relationship, about the relationship license, uh, about that pro and con thing. When should you leave? They treat me like they treat me lousy, but they're millionaires. Beep. They treat me lousy. Boop. But they're hot. Boop. So we're going to learn what means this to this person and what means this to this person. And then we are going to talk about the different kinds of love. Because if you think that there's only one kind of love, you're crazy. There's a love where you love the person, and then one example is manic love. I love you so much that if you ever leave me, kill you. Really? Put that person on a polygraph. You will find out that that is love. We just call it a different kind of love. And you will find out the 6 types of love there are. And maybe you are one of those. All right. Thanks again, guys. Yabba dabba do. Let's hope it gets warm here in New York City. And once again, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. I know I was going to send out some short stacks. I think I'm going to wait until probably April to put out some short videos. So if you want to watch that and keep in touch with videos that are outside this module thing I'm doing, 1 through 13, then do subscribe, and you will know when those come out. Other than that, thank you for dropping by, and once again, yabba dabba do to you and your partner.